A rich husband opened his wife's laptop and found hotel photos she never meant him to see. Alexander Grant did not open his wife's laptop because he was suspicious. That was the part that haunted him later. He did not sneak into her study in the middle of the night. He did not guess her password out of jealousy. He did not search through her private messages hoping to prove some dark fear he had been carrying. He opened the laptop because Madison asked him to. She was upstairs getting dressed for a foundation meeting, running late as usual, calling down from the master bedroom while fastening earrings in front of the mirror. "Alexander, can you print the donor presentation for me? It's on my desktop. The file says Children's Hope Final." Alexander was in the study, reviewing investment papers he had promised himself he would not touch until after breakfast. He looked up from the desk. "Your laptop?" "Yes, please. I need 6 copies." "What's the password?" "The same one. My birthday and your initials." He smiled faintly. There had been a time when that would have felt sweet. Her birthday, his initials, a small digital proof that their lives still belonged together in ordinary ways. "Got it," he called. The laptop sat closed on the side table beside a stack of charity brochures. It was silver, slim, expensive, and covered with the faint fingerprints of a woman who spent half her life organizing beautiful causes for people who had less than she did. Alexander opened it. The screen woke. At first, everything looked normal. Then the photo app opened automatically. A folder appeared in the center of the screen. Weekend import. Alexander's hand paused on the trackpad. The first image showed Madison standing on a hotel balcony in a white robe, sunlight on her hair, ocean behind her, smiling in a way he had not seen in a long time. For one brief second, he smiled too. Then he noticed the hotel logo stitched onto the robe. The Solara San Diego. Madison had told him she was in Santa Barbara. He stared at the screen. The next photo showed a room service tray for 2. The next showed 2 champagne glasses beside a bed. The next showed Madison laughing near a bathroom mirror. And in that mirror, behind her, holding a glass of wine, stood Ethan Cole, her ex-boyfriend. Alexander did not move. The house was quiet around him. Upstairs, his wife was still getting dressed for a charity meeting, unaware that the version of herself she had tried to hide had just appeared in perfect resolution on the screen in front of her husband. Alexander touched the trackpad and zoomed in. Ethan's reflection sharpened. So did the truth. Alexander Grant was the kind of man people described with polished words. Successful, disciplined, generous, powerful. He had built his fortune in real estate, buying neglected properties in Los Angeles and turning them into luxury residences, boutique hotels, and private communities for people who liked beauty, privacy, and control. Control mattered to Alexander. He had grown up without it. His father drank too much, his mother worked too hard, and money had always arrived late and left early. As a boy, Alexander learned that instability had a sound. His mother crying quietly in the kitchen after everyone else had gone to bed. So he built a life where nothing was supposed to collapse. By 43, he owned more than most men could dream of. A mansion in Bel Air, a beach house in Malibu, a private office downtown, cars he barely drove, investments he barely had time to enjoy. And Madison had loved him before the mansion. That was what made their marriage feel sacred to him. She had met him when he still drove an old black sedan with a broken passenger window and wore the same navy suit to every investor meeting. She had worked at a small art gallery then, bright-eyed, sharp-tongued, and impossible to impress. The first time they met, Alexander had been staring at an abstract painting with the seriousness of a man pretending to understand it. Madison had stepped beside him and said, "You hate it." He looked at her. "I'm considering it." "You're considering whether rich people will think you have taste." He laughed. "You always talk to customers like that?" "Only the ones who look afraid of blue paint." He bought the painting, not because he liked it, because he wanted an excuse to come back. Their early years were full of ambition and warmth. Madison helped him choose art for his first renovated property. Alexander brought her coffee when she worked late. They ate cheap Thai food on the floor of his unfinished office and talked about everything they would build when life finally opened. When he proposed, he did it in that same unfinished office. No cameras, no orchestra, just dust, takeout containers, and a ring he had saved for months to buy. "I don't have everything yet," he told her, nervous for the first time in years. "But whatever I build, I want you inside it." Madison cried before she said yes, and for a while, she was inside it. Truly. Then the buildings got taller. The deals got bigger. The rooms got quieter. The Bel Air mansion was supposed to be their dream home. Madison chose the kitchen tiles, the bedroom curtains, the lemon trees near the pool. Alexander handled the security system, the wine cellar, the private garage, and the study where he now sat staring at hotel photos that were never meant for him. The house was beautiful. Too beautiful, Madison once said. What does that mean? Alexander asked. They had been standing in the living room after a dinner party, surrounded by empty glasses and fading flower arrangements. It means sometimes I feel like I'm not supposed to touch anything, including you, he frowned. Madison, she smiled sadly. Forget it. No. Say what you mean. I mean, you built a life that looks perfect from outside. And inside? She looked around the room. Inside, I think we're both lonely and too well dressed to admit it. Alexander had not known what to say. That was often the problem. He could negotiate with bankers, contractors, city officials, investors, lawyers. He could speak clearly in rooms where millions of dollars depended on his voice. But when Madison said something true and painful, he often reached for the wrong tool. A gift, a dinner reservation, a trip, an apology. Anything except sitting still inside the hurt. I'll slow down after the Beverly Crest deal closes, he said. Madison laughed softly. You always slow down after something that hasn't happened yet. The words stung because they were true. He did not slow down. Madison stopped asking. And silence, in a marriage, can be mistaken for peace by the person who benefits from it. Alexander thought they were going through a season. Madison thought she was disappearing. Ethan Cole returned through memory. He had been Madison's boyfriend before Alexander, back when she was 23, and believed passion was more important than stability. Ethan was a photographer then, reckless and charming, always chasing sunsets, old hotels, rooftop parties, and the kind of beauty that felt temporary because he refused to stay anywhere long enough to understand consequence. He and Madison had burned bright for a year. Then he left for New York, then Paris, then someone else. Madison cried for 2 months, then taught herself to call him a lesson. Years later, he messaged her after seeing her name attached to a charity auction. Madison Grant. Still making rooms beautiful, I see. She should have ignored it. Instead, she replied, Ethan Cole. Still pretending that sounds poetic? His answer came fast. Only when the subject deserves poetry. She smiled. That was the first secret. At first, the messages were harmless enough to excuse. Old jokes, shared memories, photos of places they had once visited. Ethan was back in California for a photography project. He said he had thought of her often. He said she looked elegant in the gala photos online. He said Alexander was a lucky man. Then he asked the dangerous question. Are you happy? Madison typed, Of course. Ethan replied, That sounds like something said by a woman who knows the expected answer. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she wrote, Sometimes I don't know who I am anymore. That was the message that changed everything. Not because it was romantic, because it was honest, and it should have been sent to her husband. The affair did not begin in a hotel. It began in emotional privacy. Madison told Ethan things she had stopped telling Alexander. She told him the mansion felt too quiet. She told him she hated being praised for having a perfect life. She told him Alexander was not a bad husband, which somehow made her loneliness feel selfish. Ethan listened like listening was love. You were never meant to be someone's polished wife, he told her one afternoon at a cafe in Venice. She looked out the window. That's not fair. Alexander doesn't treat me like decoration. No? No. But her voice lacked strength. Ethan leaned forward. Then why do you look more alive talking to me for an hour than you do in every photo beside him? Madison looked at him sharply. You don't know my marriage. I know you. You knew me. He smiled, soft and dangerous. Maybe I remember the part of you he forgot. She should have left. Instead, she stayed until the coffee went cold. The first kiss came weeks later, outside Ethan's studio after rain. Madison pulled away immediately, shaking. This is wrong. Ethan looked at her, breathing hard. I know. I'm married. I know. To a good man. His face tightened slightly. Good men can still leave women lonely. That sentence became the excuse she hated and used anyway. Soon, Madison was deleting messages, hiding calls, inventing errands, and telling herself each new lie was the last one. Then came the weekend. The charity retreat was real. That was what made the lie easier to build. The Children's Hope Foundation had planned a women's donor retreat in Santa Barbara. Madison had helped organize parts of it. She was expected to attend, but when attendance became optional, she saw the opening before she admitted what she intended to do with it. She told Alexander she was going. He believed her immediately. Worse, he encouraged her. They were eating breakfast on the terrace when she mentioned it. A retreat, he asked? Just 2 nights. Donor meetings, planning sessions, wellness panels, that kind of thing. He nodded. You should go. She looked at him. Really? Of course. You've been working hard. Guilt moved through her. I know you hate these things. I don't hate them, he said. I just don't understand how a wellness panel needs 5 subcommittees. She laughed despite herself. He smiled, pleased that he had made her laugh. Then he reached across the table and touched her hand. Take the weekend, Madison. You're always giving pieces of yourself away to these causes. Rest a little too. She looked at his hand on hers. For 1 second, confession rose inside her. I'm not going to Santa Barbara. I'm thinking about seeing Ethan. Something is wrong with us. Something is wrong with me. Please ask the right question. Please stop me before I become someone I can't defend. But Alexander only squeezed her hand and went back to his coffee. So she smiled. Thank you, she said. The lie became real the moment he trusted it. Madison drove to San Diego on a Friday afternoon. Not Santa Barbara, San Diego. Ethan had booked a room at the Solara, a boutique hotel overlooking the ocean. The suite had white curtains, pale wood floors, a balcony, and a bathroom mirror so large it captured almost the whole room. Madison arrived with sunglasses on and her heart pounding. Ethan met her in the lobby. You came, he said. I shouldn't have, but you did. She hated that he said it with satisfaction. She hated more that part of her liked being wanted that intensely. The weekend unfolded like something stolen. They walked on the beach where no one knew her. They ordered room service. They drank wine on the balcony. Ethan took photos constantly, as he always had. Of light on the curtains, of Madison's hand around a glass, of the ocean at sunset, of her standing barefoot in a hotel robe, laughing because he said she looked like a woman in a perfume ad who was about to ruin a man's life. Don't take pictures of me, she said. Too late. I mean it. He lowered the camera. Fine. But she took some on her phone too. That was what she would later find most damning. No one forced her to preserve the evidence. Part of her wanted to remember the weekend. Part of her wanted proof that she had felt alive. On Saturday evening, she took a selfie in the bathroom mirror. She wore the white robe, hair loose, cheeks flushed from wine and ocean air. Behind her, Ethan stood in the room holding a glass. She saw the photo only briefly. She thought she looked happy. That was enough to make her save it. She did not notice his reflection clearly. Or maybe she did, and told herself she would delete it later. Lies depend on later. Later, she would delete. Later, she would stop. Later, she would be honest. Later, she would become someone better than the woman currently smiling in a hotel mirror with another man behind her. Alexander called Saturday night. Madison almost did not answer. Then guilt forced her thumb across the screen. Hi, she said, stepping onto the balcony. Wind moved around her. How's Santa Barbara? Alexander asked. She closed her eyes. Beautiful. Good. Are the meetings unbearable? She looked through the glass door at Ethan, who was sitting on the bed watching her. Not too bad. Did you get any rest? A little. You sound different. Her heart stopped. Different how? Lighter. The word cut her. I guess the weekend helped, she said. I'm glad. There was warmth in his voice. Real warmth. I miss you, he added. Madison gripped the railing. She wanted to say she missed him too, and part of her did. That was the horror. Betrayal does not always erase love. Sometimes it stands beside it, making everything uglier. I miss you too, she whispered. When she returned inside, Ethan looked annoyed. He misses you? Don't. He gets to miss you after leaving you alone for years? She turned sharply. You don't get to make this noble. I'm not. You are. You keep talking like you rescued me from something. Ethan stood. Didn't I? Madison stared at him. For the first time that weekend, the room felt smaller. Not romantic. Not free. Small. I'm going to sleep, she said. Ethan did not stop her. But the next morning, he kissed her goodbye as if they had shared something sacred. Madison drove home with the hotel photos sinking quietly to her laptop through the cloud. Truth traveling faster than regret. When Madison returned, she performed normal life carefully. She told Alexander about the retreat, the donor breakfast, the wellness panel, the ocean view in Santa Barbara, which was technically true only if one ignored the city. He listened at the kitchen island while making coffee. I'm glad you went, he said. Me too. Do you feel better? She paused. No, she wanted to say. I feel split in half. Instead, she said, a little. He nodded, then said something that nearly broke her. I thought maybe we could go somewhere soon. Just us. No meetings, no charity events, no work. Madison looked at him. You want that? Yes. Since when? His expression softened. Since I realized I've been waiting for life to calm down before loving you properly. It never calms down. Tears threatened her eyes. Too late, she thought. Or maybe not too late, said another part of her. But she did not confess. She told herself she needed time. Again, later. Always later. 3 days later, she asked him to print the charity presentation, and Alexander opened the laptop. He scrolled through the photos like a man watching his own life from outside his body. Madison on the balcony. 2 wine glasses. Room service for 2. Ethan's suitcase in the corner of the suite. Madison's bare feet near the edge of the bed. The San Diego Hotel, logo on the robe. The mirror photo. Ethan's reflection. Timestamp. Saturday, 7:43 p.m. Location. The Solara, San Diego. Not Santa Barbara. Not a retreat. Not friends. Not charity. The laptop held the truth with perfect indifference. Alexander clicked another image. A close-up of Madison laughing, head turned away from the camera. She looked unguarded, young, alive. That photo wounded him differently. It was one thing to see proof of betrayal. It was another to see happiness inside it. He sat back slowly. Upstairs, Madison called down. Did you find the file? Alexander did not answer. Alexander? He closed the photo window and saw the presentation file on the desktop. Children's Hope Final. There it was. The charity work. The respectable surface. Behind it, the hidden album. He printed the presentation. All 6 copies. Then he placed them neatly beside the laptop and waited in the dining room with the hotel photos open on the screen. When Madison came downstairs, fastening her bracelet, she smiled absently. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. I'm already... She stopped. Her eyes landed on the laptop. The color drained from her face. Alexander sat at the table, still as stone. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then he said, I opened your laptop to help you, Madison. Instead, I found the hotel room where you hid from our marriage. Her hand rose to her mouth. Alexander. He turned the laptop toward her. The mirror photo filled the screen. Madison in the robe. Ethan reflected behind her. Was the charity retreat in San Diego, he asked. She closed her eyes. Please. Was Ethan on the donor committee? Tears filled her eyes. Alexander, I can explain. He gave a bitter, quiet laugh. That phrase has never improved a situation. She sat down slowly, as if her legs could no longer hold her. It wasn't what it looks like. He leaned forward. It looks like my wife lied about a charity retreat and spent the weekend in a hotel with her ex-boyfriend. She began crying. Is that inaccurate? No answer. Madison. No, she whispered. No, it's not inaccurate. She covered her face. No. The word ended the marriage they had pretended still existed. Not legally. Not yet. But something essential collapsed in that room. The confession came in pieces. Affairs often do. Madison admitted the messages first. Then the meetings. Then the kiss. Then San Diego. Then the fact that the weekend had not been an accident but a choice. Alexander listened, quiet in a way that frightened her more than anger. How long, he asked. 4 months. Physical? She swallowed. Since last month. Was San Diego the first hotel? She looked away. His face changed. How many? Tfo. He looked at the laptop. The room seemed too bright. And you used the charity retreat as cover. Yes. I encouraged you to go, she began, sobbing. I know. I told you to rest. I know. I trusted you. I know. His voice broke then. You let me fund the lie with my concern. Madison cried harder. There was no defense. She tried anyway, not because she wanted to excuse herself, but because pain reached for explanation. I was lonely. Alexander closed his eyes. There it was. The true thing that did not absolve the wrong thing. I know, he said. She looked up. I know I neglected you. I know I gave you money, houses, gifts, and space, when what you needed was attention. I know I treated our marriage like something stable enough to wait while everything else was urgent. Tears ran down her face, but loneliness did not book that hotel room. She bowed her head. I know. Loneliness did not delete messages. I know. Loneliness did not smile in those photos. That one hit her hardest. He pointed to the screen. You deleted the messages, but you forgot the pictures that remembered where you really were. Madison could not speak. Alexander stood and walked to the window. The garden outside was bright and perfect. He hated it. All this time, he said quietly, I thought I was failing to make you happy. I didn't know someone else was photographing proof that you could be. That's not fair, she whispered. He turned. No? I wasn't happy. Not really. I was escaping. He looked at the photo again. You looked happy enough to save the picture. She had no answer. Ethan called that night. Madison had not contacted him after the confrontation, but perhaps guilt has a current. Perhaps he sensed the silence had changed. Her phone buzzed on the table. Ethan's name appeared. Alexander looked at it. Madison whispered, I won't answer. No, Alexander said. Answer. She shook her head. Answer it. With shaking hands, she accepted the call and put it on speaker. Ethan's voice came through. Hey, you okay? You went quiet. Madison could not speak. Ethan continued. Did you delete the hotel photos? Alexander closed his eyes. There it was again. Proof arriving without being asked. Madison began crying. Alexander leaned toward the phone. She didn't. Silence. Then Ethan said, Alexander, you knew there were photos. Ethan exhaled. This is between you and Madison. No, Alexander said. You helped her build a lie around my trust. That makes you part of it. She was unhappy. I know. You ignored her. I know that too. Then maybe you should ask why she came to me. Alexander looked at Madison. I am asking myself that, but I am also asking why a man who claims to love her helped her hide in hotel rooms instead of telling her to face her marriage honestly. Ethan said nothing. Alexander continued. Do not contact my wife again while we decide what remains of this marriage. Ethan laughed softly. You think you can control her? Alexander's voice became cold. No, if I could, we would not be having this conversation. Then he ended the call. Madison sat motionless. For the first time, Ethan's voice did not sound romantic to her. It sounded selfish. Not because he had caused everything. He had not. But because he had offered escape and called it love. He had helped her become smaller and called it freedom. Alexander left the mansion that night. Madison followed him upstairs while he packed. Please don't go, she said. I can't stay here. We can talk. We did. No, I mean really talk. Counseling, everything. I'll tell you everything. He placed a shirt into the suitcase. You should have told me before the laptop did. She flinched. I know. He stopped and looked at her. I keep thinking about why I opened it. She wiped her tears. To help me. He nodded. I opened your laptop because you asked me to help with a charity presentation. Do you understand what that means? She cried silently. It means even the discovery came through trust, he said. I trusted your password, your request, your work, your story. Madison whispered. I'm sorry. He zipped the suitcase. Sorry is true. It is not enough yet. At the bedroom door, he paused. These photos were never meant for me, he said, but they showed me the version of you that never came home. Then he left. Madison stood alone in the bedroom until she heard his car disappear down the driveway. Only then did she run to the study, open the laptop, and look at the photos again. She had expected to see romance. Instead, she saw evidence. A hotel room, a robe, a mirror, a woman smiling while destroying the life of a man who trusted her. She deleted the album in panic. Then she restored it from the trash because deletion felt too much like lying again. For the first time, she understood that the photos were not the enemy. They were witnesses. The separation began quietly. Alexander moved into a private property in Santa Monica, a smaller house near the ocean that he had once bought as an investment. It had old floors, white walls, and no staff. Compared with the mansion, it was simple. He found relief in that simplicity. There were no rooms designed to impress, no perfect surfaces, no charity brochures on tables, no laptop waiting to reveal hidden photographs. For days, he barely worked. His assistant handled urgent matters. The world did not collapse without him. That realization wounded him almost as much as the affair. How much of his absence had been necessary? How much had been habit? How much had he called ambition when it was really avoidance? He did not excuse Madison. But alone in the small house, Alexander began to see that the marriage had been starving before Ethan fed it poison. Madison remained in the mansion. She canceled the foundation meeting, then another, then withdrew from the charity board temporarily. People asked if she was unwell. She said yes. It was the first honest answer she had given publicly in months. She ended contact with Ethan through one message. "What happened was betrayal. Do not contact me again." He replied, "You're letting guilt erase what we had." Madison stared at the screen, then typed, "What we had needed lies to survive. That is not love." He wrote back, "He'll never see you the way I do." She answered once more, "You saw the part of me willing to hide. I need to become someone who can live in truth." Then she blocked him. It did not make her feel strong. It made her feel late. But late truth was still truth. Counseling began 2 months later. Alexander agreed because Madison's letter was finally honest. She did not ask for forgiveness in the first paragraph. She did not blame his work. She did not romanticize Ethan. She wrote plainly, "I used your trust as a hiding place." That sentence brought him to the counselor's office. In their first session, the counselor asked Alexander what hurt most. "The photos," he said. Madison looked down. "Why the photos?" the counselor asked. Alexander took a long time to answer. "Because she looked happy," he said. "Because I could have convinced myself the affair was only weakness or confusion, but the photos showed her preserving it, keeping it, smiling inside it." Madison began crying. He continued, "And because I found them while trying to help her. That makes me feel foolish, like trust itself walked me to the evidence." The counselor turned to Madison. "What do you hear him saying?" Madison wiped her face. "That the photos weren't just proof of where I was," she said. "They were proof that part of me wanted to keep the lie, that I didn't just make a mistake and run from it. I saved pieces of it." Alexander looked away, jaw tight. Madison continued, voice shaking. "And he found them because he was helping me with charity work. Something he trusted, something I used as cover." The counselor nodded. Madison turned to Alexander. "I am sorry I made goodness part of the lie." That sentence reached him. Not enough to heal, but enough to tell him she was beginning to understand. They tried for months. Not fully together, not fully apart. They met in counseling. They had dinners in neutral places. They spoke more honestly than they had in years. Alexander admitted that he had used work as a way to avoid emotional discomfort. He admitted that Madison had asked for him long before Ethan appeared. He admitted that he had provided luxury while withholding presence. Madison admitted that she had enjoyed being desired by Ethan while still wanting the safety of Alexander's life. She admitted the hotel weekends were not accidents. She admitted she had used charity, privacy, and Alexander's trust as cover. Sometimes truth brought tenderness. Sometimes it brought only clearer grief. One evening, Madison asked Alexander to come to the mansion to discuss practical matters. He agreed. Afterwards, she asked if he wanted coffee. He almost said no. Then he stayed. They sat in the kitchen where their life had once seemed normal. "I found the hotel album again," Madison said. "Alexander stiffened. I didn't mean to keep it," she said quickly. "I restored it after deleting it because deleting felt like hiding again. But I looked at it yesterday." Alexander said nothing. "It doesn't look romantic anymore." His eyes moved to hers. "What does it look like?" She swallowed. "Like evidence of a woman who chose escape over honesty." He looked down. That was a true answer. A painful one. But true. "Did you delete it?" he asked. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because I don't think I should decide alone what happens to the thing that hurt you." The answer surprised him. For a moment he saw not the woman in the hotel mirror, but the woman from the unfinished office years ago. The woman who could face hard truth without decorating it. He nodded. "Send it to your therapist," he said. "Then delete it." She cried quietly. "Okay." It was not reconciliation, but it was one clean act in the ruins. 6 months after the laptop discovery, Alexander knew he could not return to the marriage. The knowledge did not come dramatically. It came during an ordinary moment. Madison texted him that she would be late to counseling because traffic was bad. The message was simple, probably true, and accompanied by a location screenshot she sent without being asked. Alexander stared at it. He hated that she felt she needed to send proof. He hated that part of him felt relieved by proof. He hated that their marriage, if restored, might require a lifetime of evidence. When she arrived at counseling, breathless and apologizing, he knew. He did not want to become that husband, and he did not want Madison to live forever as a defendant. In the session, he said quietly, "I think we need to stop trying to rebuild the marriage." Madison closed her eyes. She had known too, perhaps. Still, tears came. "I believe you're sorry," he said. "I am. I believe your loneliness was real. It was. I believe I failed you before you betrayed me. She shook her head. That doesn't make you responsible for what I did. I know. He looked at her, grief in his face. But I cannot unsee the photos. I cannot rebuild a marriage where truth arrived because technology remembered what you tried to hide. Madison cried silently. I understand. That was the saddest part. She did. The divorce was quiet. No public scandal. No courtroom war. No revenge. Alexander protected Madison's dignity more than many thought she deserved. When friends asked what happened, he said, "We hurt each other in ways we could not repair." That was not the full truth, but it was not a lie. Madison, in private, was clearer. I betrayed him, she told her sister. He was absent, but I was unfaithful. Those are not the same. She left the mansion before it sold. Alexander sold it a year later. Neither of them wanted the house that had become full of beautiful rooms and broken trust. Madison moved to a smaller apartment near Pasadena. She stayed with charity work but stepped away from leadership roles for a while. She packed boxes, answered phones, delivered supplies, did tasks no one praised. It helped. She learned to do good without using goodness as identity. Alexander moved permanently to Santa Monica. He worked less. Not little, but less. He began asking people he loved better questions and staying present for the answers. He dated eventually, carefully. Madison did not for a long time. She needed to learn who she was, when no man was reflecting her back to herself. 2 years later, Madison opened her laptop and found an old backup folder. For a moment, her heart stopped. Inside was not the hotel album itself, but a thumbnail cache, tiny blurred ghosts of the photos she had deleted properly months earlier with her therapist's help. The balcony, the robe, the mirror, Ethan's reflection. The images were too small to hold power, but clear enough to awaken memory. Madison did not panic this time. She did not slam the laptop shut. She sat with the discomfort. Then she deleted the cache carefully, permanently. Afterward, she opened her journal and wrote, "The photos were never the worst thing. The worst thing was that I became someone who needed certain photos hidden." She paused, then continued. "Alexander found the truth because I asked him for help. That is what betrayal does. It turns kindness into a doorway to pain." Outside her apartment window, Pasadena was quiet. No hotel room, no Ethan, no Alexander downstairs. Only her, the laptop, and the truth. For the first time, the machine did not feel like a threat. There was nothing left on it that could expose her. Not because she had hidden better, because she had stopped hiding. Years later, Alexander saw Madison at a foundation event. It was not dramatic. They were both older, softer, less polished in the ways that come after life breaks something, and time teaches humility. Madison approached him near the exit. "Alexander, Madison." They stood in a silence that no longer felt sharp. "You look well," she said. "So do you. I am trying to be." He smiled faintly. "That counts." She looked down, then back at him. "I'm sorry for the photos." He inhaled slowly. "I know. I'm sorry you had to see that version of me." His eyes softened with sadness. "I loved versions of you before that." Tears filled her eyes. "I know. That's what made it worse." He nodded. For a moment, they were back in the old unfinished office. Younger, hopeful, before money, before silence, before hotels and deleted folders. Then the moment passed. Madison said, "I hope you're happy." "Some days," he said, "more than before." "Good. And you?" "Honest," she said. Then, after a small pause, "Some days that feels better than happy." Alexander nodded. "It is better than beautifully false." They did not hug. They did not need to. Some apologies are not meant to reopen doors, only to leave them closed without hatred. The truth of their marriage remained complicated. Alexander had failed to be present. Madison had chosen betrayal. Ethan had offered escape and called it love. Technology had done nothing moral or immoral. It had only remembered. The laptop did not ruin the marriage. The photos did not create the affair. They only showed what lies had tried to keep unseen. And that was the lesson Madison carried for the rest of her life. A lie can delete messages, clear call logs, and close browser tabs, but truth often survives in the image someone forgot to hide. Sometimes the photos never meant to be seen become the only ones that show what really happened.